Welcome, everyone. This is our Mid-Coast Women's first virtual program. I am one of the co-founders of Mid-Coast Women. We came together after the 2016 election. We were a little disappointed with the results. And after spending 4 or 5 months figuring out, well, what can we do to ensure that women's voices are heard and appreciated, we ended up becoming Mid-Coast Women. And the work that we do is to strengthen and amplify the voices of women. And what I'm going to do right now is pass it to Sarah for a few minutes, and she's going to give us a little bit of an orientation to Zoom, and then I'll come back with our special speaker, Susanna Lower.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah. I'm on the organizing committee as well, and I'm going to be running Zoom tech support for tonight. This is our first time trying this, so hopefully it's going to go really smoothly, but please forgive any glitches. We're going to get those all ironed out, and hopefully this is a way we can continue to gather and share our stories during this kind of bonkers time in the world, but it's really nice to see so many faces and hear your voices, so we're really excited. I would like to ask first that if there's anybody who is not very comfortable with Zoom, hasn't used it much before, would like some help, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your control bar, which is probably at the bottom of your screen, might be at the top, and find the window that says chat. There's a button that says chat. If you click on that, it'll open up a little window, and by typing in there, your message will automatically come to me. And so if you need any help during the Zoom, if you're having trouble hearing, connecting, figuring out how to do something, go ahead and type me a message in there, send it, and I'll be monitoring that throughout to hopefully keep things going really smoothly. You don't have to keep that window open if you don't need it, but feel free to use it. Absolutely. We'll try to address anything that comes up. The next thing is that we would ask everybody to be using speaker view in this program. So if you take your cursor to the upper, which side? That side of your screen, it will either say gallery view or speaker view. You want it to say gallery view. It's kind of counterintuitive, but you should click on it if it says speaker view. If it says gallery view, you're okay. You should be seeing me kind of big while I'm talking instead of a Brady Bunch grid of all the other faces. That way, when we have our question and answer going, you'll be able to see Pam and Susanna. And then when we go to our question and answer at the end, we'll be able to also see whoever's talking from our audience. So that's great. And mute. Currently, the audience is all muted. What that means is that no one on the Zoom can hear sound from your microphone. You should be able to hear me. If you can't, let me know. And if you need to turn down the volume or adjust the volume of what you're hearing, don't try to use the mute. That's just for us hearing you. You can use the volume controls on your computer or phone if you'd like the speaker to be louder or quieter on your end. And let's see, is there anything else that we need right now? I think that's it in terms of, oh, one more thing, how to raise your hand. In Zoom, there's a feature that allows you to virtually raise your hand when we get to the Q&A. And if you haven't seen this yet, you're going to find this in the participant window. So in that same control bar along the bottom or up on the top, there'll be an icon that you can choose that says participant. And if you click on that, you'll see a list of everybody who's participating, including yourself, right at the top. And you should see a little hand icon next to it. So what I'd like everybody to do is test this and just click on that hand icon next to your name before we get started so we can all try it out. And what should happen is your hand should light up blue, and then it'll also show up on your video next to your name, so we can see that everybody has tried raising their hand, and that will let us know that we all know how this goes when we get to Q&A, so we can call on you if you would like to throw out a question. So go ahead and just raise your hand and leave it raised. I can turn them off when we're done, just to make sure everybody can find it. It's going to be in the participant window, not the chat window. There are two separate pop-ups that you'll get. So find that participant window and find your name and click on the raise hand, and that should make everybody flag themselves. And that's how we'll ask you to let us know during the Q&A if you'd like to participate. We also have a little bit that we might grab an audience participant to volunteer with us, so know where that is when you need it. And otherwise, you can go ahead and close or minimize those windows. I'm going to go ahead and take care of those raised hands. And we will get started in just a second. And like I said, in case anyone has just joined us, please use the chat window to go ahead and let me know if you need a question answered technically as we're going along. I will be monitoring that as we go. All right, so I'm going to lower those hands for you. Thank you, everybody, for testing that out. And we're going to send it back to Pam.
Well, I have the pleasure tonight of introducing you to Susanna Liller, who I've known for quite some time. We met through doing women's work. I believe we were on the Maine Women's Fund together, working on that work, for those of you who live in Maine. And Susanna has written a couple of wonderful books. Circle Power is the one that we're going to be working from tonight. And then the other one, You Are a Heroine, is her book that's out. She just published in 2018. And she's been really good resource for us in Mid-Coast women, because we really are working in our own ways to bring out the heroine in each of us. Susanna, I'm going to pitch a question to you now. Tell us a little bit about your work and who you are and how you ended up going from the work you did to being author, speaker, and coach.
Wow, okay. Well, first let me say how pleased I am to be here with all of you and that you invited me. I guess you could call me your initial guinea pig speaker, right? If they're all guinea pigs, I must be one too. I'm happy to be a guinea pig with all of you. I know that you and I had chatted and you had said that I had made a pretty significant decision at the end of 2019, a big one, a big heroine's journey leap. And I did. I left 25 years of being in the consulting business and working with companies and nonprofits in doing conflict management and helping with communication and team building and strategic planning. I was the professional that got called in when there was trouble, and I loved that work. But as often happens when you start paying attention to your inner voice and your intuition and you get quiet enough to hear that, I began sometime last year to get the urge to stop. And I had always had this other business for women called Ruby Slippers that is an empowerment business, workshops, coaching, speaking. I started it in 2000, and I had put it on the back burner to write the book about the heroine's journey. But my feeling in 2019 was, it's time for me to focus on women. And subsequently, I was finishing writing the book on the heroine's journey. And so, yes, I left my consulting in December, and it really wasn't that hard to do. I knew that it was time. And along came January, ready to focus on women and do workshops, and okay, then look what happened. But thank goodness for Zoom. So, you know, I had always been very tentative about social media. I could use the computer, no problem. But now I love technology because look what it enables us to do. So that's sort of, is that enough of a who I am?
It is, but I want to ask you, make a comment and ask you to elaborate a little bit on it. I remember being in Bath, Maine, having coffee with Susanna, and she was just starting on her book, The Heroine's Journey. And that person in me that had sort of a business mind and, okay, what are you going to do with this? And who's your market? Who's your audience? And so forth. And I could tell after a while, Susanna's very gracious, but I could tell that after a while she was like, just stop, just stop. What she ended up saying to me is, all I know right now is that I want to write this book. I don't want to have any plan for it afterwards. And in this society, Susanna, where we are so planful, you know, why are you going to do that? And how are you going to monetize it and that sort of thing? What was it like to go in it without a plan other than I'm writing this book?
Yeah, well, so it's about focusing. And I'll tell you, I did a circle on how to focus on finishing and writing my book. But I think that's such a commentary about even now. You know, we just have to put one foot in front of the other because every week we don't know what's unfolding. And so it was hard because I was working and doing the conflict work, but I just needed to get that done. And that reminds me, Pam, that you were the one that introduced me to the heroine's journey, or to the hero's journey, in 2007, I think, when you said, Susanna, you have to come to the Camden Library and listen to this woman speak about how the Wizard of Oz is the hero's journey. And so I have you to thank for that, because that just blew up my world. That framework, as you know, of the heroine's journey, the hero's journey, is the framework of our lives. And so, yeah, you really helped me by making me go. I didn't really want to go. It was a really hot day in August, but I went, and it was great.
Let me ask you, and if you have this plan for when you're doing the circle experiment, that's okay. But I know that the word heroine or hero can be somewhat intimidating. And here I just said a few minutes ago, we're trying to bring out the heroine and women in our area, which is the Mid-Coast, Maine, where we focus our work. But would you talk a little bit about what a heroine is, and so that people can begin to normalize that in this abnormal time?
Well, here, to me, we're ordinary women. I mean, we're not superhuman, we're not Wonder Women, but we all have our own very special skills and abilities. And my experience with women, working with them, again, I did even before any book writing, I was working with women, and that they lacked confidence in themselves and in those special skills and abilities that only they could bring to the world. And so to me, it's a woman who feels ordinary, doesn't have the courage, maybe she doesn't think of herself as brave, maybe fear is her constant companion, but she steps one foot in front of the other and listens to her inner voice. So that's, you know, and then follows that call. So yeah, I was afraid I've done other leaps, and I was afraid during every leap, and I did it. And just like me telling you in the cafe, I just have to write this book. You know, not knowing how it's going to be received, if I could even sell it, but you just do it and you go ahead. And what you find, if you take that step, which in heroine's journey or hero's journey language is cross the threshold and go on an adventure, that people will come help you, and you will find mentors, and yeah, life will become richer. You will become more of who you really are. You're bringing yourself out when you become a heroine. I don't know. That was a long way of answering that question.
Thank you.
I could talk about it for a long time, Pam. You know that.
I'm going to give you an opportunity, though, now to demonstrate it for us. I remember when Susanna was working on her first book, we're always eating when we're talking about this stuff. We were at the frontier in Brunswick, Maine, and she was just finishing Circle Power is what it was. And I was on a Zoom call with Susanna and some other heroines the other night, and she used it. And I said, oh my gosh, that's our first virtual program. She used it to demonstrate how she's dealing with this situation we're in right now. So the way we're going to do the rest of this program is Susanna's going to demonstrate her experience and show you how it works. And then be thinking about this, we'd like to have a volunteer for our audience, at which time whoever raises their hand first, Sarah, you'll have to pay attention, will be our volunteer. You'll get unmuted, you'll get to talk and be seen. So just keep that in mind too. But then Susanna will do one with you personally. And then one other thing that I want to mention before we leave this afternoon, Susanna has a little surprise gift for everyone.
Yeah.
But we don't want to tell you about that now.
Okay.
One of the reasons that we have her called SusannaLiller.com is that you may want to jot that down. We'll put it up a few times, a time or two more, but just want you to note that so that after we're gone, you'll have that written down for yourself. So with that, Susanna, why don't you pull your chart pad forward and
Okay, but before I go there, so circle power has really more than one level of use. And its most basic level is a way to focus your thoughts. And I can imagine that all of you, as what's been unfolding in our world, has had anxiety about it, and as I have had. And at its basic level, you can use it to help you focus on, get your thoughts, discipline your thoughts on what you want instead of on what you don't want. So that's what the example I'm going to show you in a minute on my trusty easel. But I also want you to know that in the book, and can I just tell them that this what the surprise is now?
yes, go ahead, Susan.
Okay. So the surprise is going to be that you're all going to get the PDF version of the book, so you can read it's short, but you can get all the understanding about what I'm saying, that I'm giving you just a tidbit about going above the basic use of it. It was a way for me to explain the divinity within all of us. And however you call that, intuition, higher power, God, something greater, which is what I call it in the book. If you think of your consciousness as a circle, and the circle has been a symbol of spirituality forever. So it came to me that to talk about this as a metaphor of a circle made sense. So the circle, if you think about it within you as your consciousness, and within that, your divine spark. And so what you put in that circle can be worked on, and you can use it as a means to ask for what you need and what you want. So maybe that's prayer for you. And so the book will take you to that also, that level of using it as a spiritual device to request things. And I have used it like that very successfully. But we're not going to go into that. Today is going to be its most basic use of, again, focusing on what you want to focus on and trying to keep your thoughts on that. So here's what I did when all this started happening. So let me just adjust my easel, bring it a little closer, and Pam has told me she's going to tell me if something isn't, I know you're not going to see my head, but you don't need to see my head, right? I'm here. So the first, and the best time to do this, the time to notice that a circle is needed, is when you feel worried, feel anxious, or you hear somebody else complaining and you just don't want to go there. So you say, I need to draw a circle. And you just get any piece of paper and you draw a circle like that. And then you start on the outside of the circle with how you don't want to be. How you don't want to be. So my whole thing here was how I experience the pandemic. And some of you might also recognize this as a way to hold an intention, to set an intention for how you want to be. First, though, we go to the outside, how you don't want to be. And what I wrote, some of the things I wrote, I don't want to be anxious. I don't want to be worried. I don't want to be isolating, even though I have to isolate physically, but I mean, look at us, we're communicating and we're together. I don't want to be absorbed with the crisis. I don't want to be continually reading the New York Times. I want to read it, but not all the time. I wrote down, I don't want to be complaining. So I am actually, I have this and it's what I'm copying from. I'm not going to write down everything because I don't want to take up all the time doing it. But then once you get to, this is how I don't want to experience what's going on in the world. I mean, we're still living our one wild and precious life, right? So how best do I want to live it? So I'll tell you, when I went to the inside of the circle, which again, this is where I want to focus my thoughts. And also, again, that higher use of it, this is what I'm asking for help with. If you believe in asking for the divine to partner with you. The first thing I wrote was calm. And it went right in the center. That was what came to me. I also wrote seeing the silver lining. And I'll tell you, I've found it more than once. There is a silver lining. I wrote healthy, of course. One thing I will caution you is you can't write my children are healthy, because this is your circle. This is yours. This is your consciousness. Finding opportunities, I wrote. I wrote completing projects. And again, I'm not going to write everything. I wrote letting go. So, and to me, that was about, okay, I've got to see that things aren't going to be the way they were necessarily even last week. And so it's okay that things are changing. And maybe they'll go back to the way they were, maybe they won't. One more, what else? Well, of course, I put making lemonade as opposed to lemons, just seeing the lemons. So that's the technique, as simple as it is. Now, what I tell people to do is, often people do this on an 8.5 by 11, is I say, okay, now that you've done the inside, cut the center out and take it and put it somewhere where you will see it. So that that's where you want your focus to be. And you can always add to it. And that's basically it. So Pam, I don't know if you want to ask questions now, or what do you think?
Well, we're doing pretty well with our time. So if anyone wants to raise their hand and take a couple of questions before you do something with one of the participants. I should also say that it's amazing how Susanna's clarity ends up impacting my clarity. I love to edit. And so Susanna's had me editing some projects for her. And so she's excited to get them done. And I'm just in heaven editing. So one thing truly leads to another, but why don't we?
You know, I have an example too, that maybe this will help people see, because this is just one way to use this. I wanted to set an intention for how I experienced the pandemic, but I've had friends use this for bringing in the right relationship into their lives. And on the outside of the circle, they would put all the things, and you think about what hasn't worked for you in the past. So this particular friend of mine, Elaine, talked about what were the characteristics of the men in her life that just didn't work for her. And she put that on the outside and then put on the inside what she's looking to bring into her life, the kind of qualities she wants a person to have that she has a relationship with. I've used this to bring this very house that I'm in into my world. So you can use it for several different applications.
Let's go on to get a volunteer to do one with you.
Okay.
We have a volunteer in the audience. If you would like to volunteer, go ahead and use that raise your hand button at the bottom of your participant list, and we can unmute you and activate your video so folks can see you. Who would like to take a try at it? All right, Constance, we should be able to hear you now if you'd like to speak.
Hi, this is, I'm not part of your group. I'm just a fan of Suzanne, and we haven't connected. And I've been actually very benefiting from being a part of a couple of other groups. I made I'm a little bit of an introvert, but I made the commitment to show up twice a week, and I got a lot out of it today, a lot. So I thought, well, I'm going to come and see what Suzanne's doing. So I'm volunteering because I actually have a thing that I think is relevant and might be helpful.
Can I just say one thing? Anyone who's here today is part of our group.
Oh, well, thank you.
So welcome.
Thank you. I just saw, I look, oh my gosh, Mid-Coast, Maine. I mean, I'm like, oh, I just kind of showed up, but.
And I think, Constance, so I'm remembering you're in New York.
Yes, I'm in Long Island now. I left early. I was in Italy when everything happened.
Oh my gosh. And the last time I saw her, and this is so wonderful, but this is what's wrong with being electronic. I can't hug you, but we saw each other maybe 3 years ago near Santa Fe. And how perfectly wonderful to see you. So,
thank you. And I was at the beginning of my heroine's journey by also leaving my work. And I was, I stopped my company and I took a pause and, without having a plan, which is against everything I ever was trained and taught to do. So I hear you.
Yay. So how nice.
I had a very successful business that I just walked away from.
Oh, there's a story there.
So I guess, tell me if it's relevant. Okay. This is what I would offer, because I do think that it's important to point out that this can be personal, it could be spiritual, it could be work related. I'm working on a project, and this is what I want to talk about it because I have the monkey thing going on. All right. It is without divulging too much, it is an entity that serves, it's a child assault prevention group that is having a lot of administrative issues, and they have gravitated towards me. Okay. And there's no leader. So my project is how to contribute without taking on more than my share or more than I feel comfortable with.
Okay, so contributing as a leader.
Yes.
To a group, and then we're going to say on the outside how you don't want to contribute. Right,
exactly. Okay.
And I think you've already mentioned, so say the things that you don't want to be as you're working.
I don't want to have a disproportionate sense of responsibility.
Okay, that's
I don't want to feel like I'm disappointing anyone, because that's an old tape.
Yep.
The therapy question, well, who are you disappointing? Well, I always feel like I'm going to disappoint someone if I don't save the world, right?
So you don't want to.
I don't want to have feelings of fear of disappointment. That's probably the most succinct way to say it.
Okay. Yes. All right. So not disproportionate responsibility, not fear of disappointing people.
Yeah.
Anything else that?
I don't want to, one of the things that I say to myself is that I have a little ego and I don't want to be the leader. I don't want to lead the charge. I'm a great team player. So I don't want to fear, I don't know how to, maybe you can help me with that.
Don't want to lead the charge.
Yeah, don't want to lead the charge. Okay, don't want to lead the charge.
Actually, it would probably be leading the charge would go on the outside, but we'll just put that here for now.
Okay.
So,
and I don't want to, here's another last one. I don't want to stay with it beyond its expiration date. I can tend to hang on for dear life and feeling like, again, tied into the disappointment that, I'm not gonna let go. I was trained to be as a child, I was trained to be,
Loyal or?
no, like persevere. Persevere was a high value in my family. Perseverance, you know what I mean? And I found, obviously, as I got older, that my parents teaching me that I took too far, right? So I got out of self-care, I got out of alignment because, my dad literally used to say to me on the phone, don't you back down, you show them what you're made of. So that can lead to staying beyond the expiration date.
Yes. Okay. So maybe your dad's voice is in a lot of this stuff on the outside, which is what happens. Okay, so then we go inside and we look at what we put on the outside. And if we had more time, Constance, we'd probably think of more, but just for the example. So if you're not worrying about disappointing other people, then how are you inside here? Then you're being who you are, because
I'm holding the vision of what's possible for this organization. That's actually why they're attracted to me. I am resourceful, which is my core competency and my real, I speak truth to power. I am, I don't know what, I'm courageous, I would say here, because, this is about not falling into the scarcity mindset. Because right now, all of the nonprofits in the world and all of these people are like, they're operating out of, oh my God, help me, because everybody's vying for resources, Oh, sorry, yes.
Yes. Okay.
I think that's enough. You got the idea.
Yeah, you all, and I think everybody has the idea. And so, again, if you find yourself, oh no, I'm going to have too much responsibility. Oh no, I'm afraid that just don't even go there. And you can also see that these are also affirmations, right? Your intention, your affirmations, and this is where you want to focus. And then if you want to add additional oomph to it, you picture this within you, that you're putting this in the divine circle of your consciousness, and then asking for additional help. And yeah, it could be.
This is really helpful, actually, because I did a piece of that today and I felt a lot of energy around the project, because I just said, I want to be an accountable team player, and you can count on me. I don't want to be your leader. And it was just like, it was like empowering. It felt really good. And this would be a good, I'm going to write this down and actually,
good.
It's helpful. It's very helpful to me because it'll keep me in integrity in the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For stepping up and being our another guinea pig, right? But I'm sure that this example is useful to everybody. And again, we want to be here.
We have a few minutes for questions. If anyone has a question for Susanna.
This a little bit back.
If you do have a question, please raise your hand, use that participant window, or find the raise my hand button, and go ahead and you'll pop up. We can unmute you and you can let us know what you like. I see Pat Whalen. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you, Pat. Let's hear your question.
So thank you. Hi, Susanna. This is great. So can you give us some tips about how to really frame the intention before we jump into it? Because I'm thinking that probably that helps set the stage for the rest of the work.
And it does, but I will tell you that sometimes you just kind of put something up there that this is about how I want to be in the pandemic, but as you start putting things on the outside and the inside, maybe it morphs into something else. So don't hang yourself up if you don't start with exactly what you want. But as far as framing, if you could think about your thoughts and one thing we have control over, there's a lot we don't, but we do have control over our thoughts. And so as your thoughts are coming up, try to see what are the ones that I really, kind of want to put on the outside of the circle. And that might help you figure out what it is your circle is about. But again, I have done them looking for the right person for a particular need. Like I needed somebody to help my mother. I needed a caretaker. I've done it for also helping to find a good assistant to help me. Like I did for the pandemic, about how I want my attitude to be. I had to move once. I did it around how I want the move to be. It's really, how do I want it to be? What are the thoughts then I have to focus on? So, it's also about manifesting, affirmations, setting an intention. So I'll just tell you, I also use it as a way to pray for people. And so I said, you can't put other people in your circle, but if you then kind of not use it as your own tool, but say, these are the people I want to hold in prayer, I just write people's names inside a circle, and it just, again, helps me remember who I'm holding in prayer.
At this point, I just need to say it's a great place for us to bring to a close. And thank you, Pat, for asking that question. And so we're at that point. We have a thing in Mid-Coast Women where we start on time and we end on time. It's kind of our thing. But why don't you put up Susanna's, what do you call that, website, so that we can see that, while I just say thank you so much, Susanna, for helping us figure out how to continue to do the work. Oh, that's good, because it's got her website on the bottom there. To do this work with anyone. It's kind of cool. I know a lot of people who are on this call today. So Constance, you're not the only person from outside of Mid-Coast Maine. There's some people from Arkansas here. Pat was from Massachusetts. I don't know if there were other people from other states as well, but I think that's cool myself. But thank you, Susanna. And I am so glad to be having this opportunity to say one of the biggest values of getting in touch with the heroine inside of us is because then I find myself hanging out with other heroines.
That's how it works. Absolutely. And can I just say, Pam, that the way that I want them to get my book at a PDF version is to email me, to go to the contact me at my website, and then I'll get the email and then I can send them the version. And also any questions, and I love it to help people with circles, and would love to help you if there's questions about it.
Susanna, I should just mention that a couple people on this call were among the women that I gave your book to back in 2009.
Nice.
So I think that those were autographed, if I recall that. So anyway, yes, please. It's a wonderful little book, and I think I gave mine away, so I had to go to Amazon and buy one to refresh myself on this. But thank you so much, Susanna, for working on this with us. And
thank you.
I'm going to hand it over to Sarah because there's something she wants to do, and I want her to do, and then I'll come back at the end.
Okay, so just a reminder that Susanna said to get the copy of her book, she'll send a PDF out to folks. You can go to her website, find the contact page, send her a quick email and let her know that you were on this Zoom with us, and she'll email you the book by PDF so that you can read it on your computer or your device at home at your leisure. So that's the website, susannaliller.com. All right, we'll bring it back to some faces. Okay. And what I would like to do is I would like to say thank you to our organizing committee, because they're awesome humans And what I'd like to do is I'll just say their name and have them give you a wave and say hi. And it's going to be a little interesting because I got to find you on the list here, everybody. But Pam, obviously, was our main organizer and interviewer. Say hi, Pam.
Hi, it's been fun doing this.
And then we've also got Libby Shrum, who's been helping us figure, hang on, Libby, I got to unmute you. Hold on. The unmute button has been a little tricky tonight. I'm not quite sure why.
I can help you out. There you go.
Hi, Libby.
Hello.
And then we've also got Brenda Gushy on with us tonight.
Hello.
And Candace Vanko is here as well.
Hi.
And is Judy on with us tonight?
I don't know where she is.
I sent her a text in this. I don't know where she is. She's going to have to.
I sent her a text too.
Well, we send our salute to Judy, wherever you are, Judy. And we also want to thank Morgan Dunton, who helped us with some technical assistance, just making sure we knew how we could get this organized so we could best get the information across. So thank you for that, Morgan.
One of the things that we're going to do now is put up our website, because if you're not on our mailing list or you just want to know what programs are coming up, that's where you get in touch with us. And we really are all about community. That's what we do. And so that's why I said to Constance, if you're here, you're part of the Mid-Coast community. And that's what our work's about. So the planning group that was just introduced, we're going to get together and talk about how this went and if we want to continue it. And I would also ask you to go to our website, and if you have some feedback for us, that would be great as well, because we continue to want to be relevant during this very strange, irrelevant time. And so we welcome your feedback, and thank you so much for showing up and helping us make this happen. So can you unmute everyone so we can, Susanna could hear an applause.
Thank you. Thanks, Susanna.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.